hinder you. Don't you let where you've been hinder you. Don't let what they've said hinder you. Don't you let your past hinder you. You're a woman without limits. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. A woman without limits. Yes, you are. There's nothing the enemy can do to stop what God has for you. There's nothing the enemy can do to stop what God has for you. You're a woman without limits. Woman, 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 woman without limits. Na 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 na. Woman without limits. Woman.
And good evening, viewers. You are welcome to Woman Without Limits. I'm Reverend Kathy Kiuna. It's always such a delight to have you watch us. I tell you, we love it when you give us your feedback and let us know how we truly are affecting your lives. Woman Without Limits is all about that. We want to impact your life and make a difference. And these stories that come over and over again from diverse people. We started with women only. The men complained. We brought men also so that we can be able to minister to the entire body. I want you to understand that you are that woman without limits, and nothing can limit you but you yourself. You know what I mean? You're the only one who can tell yourself, I can't do it. You're the only one who can tell yourself, I grew up from this background, it's impossible for me. But if you can believe it, there is nothing that can stand in your way to stop you from becoming everything you are created to be. Tonight, I have a guest. An amazing, amazing guest, and I know he's gonna absolutely bless your lives. His name is Dee Jones. He is a dynamite when it comes to music, singing. My God, he's done this song, Big God. For sure, you will know that he surely serves that big God. And he has album after album, and he's a mighty producer. So we're going to be talking about all that. Would you welcome with me, Dee Jones?
Thank you so much, Mama, for having me. It's such a privilege and an honor to be on this show.
You're so welcome.
Thank you so much.
How do you love Nairobi?
I love Nairobi.
Yeah?
You know, I'm waiting for my Kenyan name.
Yeah.
As soon as I get it, I will declare it, and I'll be officially Kenyan.
They were telling you what? That you look like what? Who?
I forgot what they said. I look like somebody, tribe that likes chicken.
Oh, hallelujah.
Luya, yes. They say I look like Luya. I don't know.
Okay. By the way, I even know somebody that you really resemble.
Oh, wow.
From that region.
Okay.
So do you like chicken?
I love chicken.
You do?
Yes.
There you go. You are our brother from another mother.
Yes, I am.
Yeah. You're very welcome. This is
Thank
Woman
you.
Without Limits.
I'm glad to be here.
Yes.
Thank
So
you.
tell us about you. You know, everybody knows Big God.
Yes.
They've seen you do it, and they love the song. Me included. I'm always doing it. Praise and worship. If it's my turn to do it, they will just know Big God is
Big
coming
God is
up.
gonna
You
be
know?
there.
Yeah. So tell us, before Big God and before
Yes.
all that, who
Yes.
is this Dee Jones?
Oh, well, Dee Jones, my full name is Daniel Jones. D comes from my friends. You know, when I was younger, they just called me Dee Jones, and that's how it's just stuck.
Right.
I just love God. I'm a worshiper. I'm just somebody who just craves to be in God's presence, and I love to help people. I'm a musician, I'm a writer, I'm a producer, and I do some other things. But most importantly, I just love God, and I love to be in His presence. I love to just change lives with my music, and that's who I am.
Now, before all the music and
Yes.
before you becoming who you are today,
Yes.
where are you coming from? You
Well-
know, how was your background? Did you grow
Yes.
up singing? Did you start by singing?
Well, I started playing the piano at 9. My dad was a deacon in church. My mom was the choir leader. Most people don't know this, but I didn't grow up knowing my mom. She passed when I was 3 months. I used to tell people I'm from a family of 10, 8 boys and 2 girls. Yes, and I'm the last of 10. Now, the joke I crack on this is my mom was waiting for me. So she's like, number one, yeah, that's not him. Number two, three, they kept going until until number 10. They're like, yeah, he's here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let me check out.
Let me check out, But I grew up, with our family is very connected just because of that. My dad raised all of us. He never remarried. So we are very close with my sisters and my brothers, and we're all born into ministry. So at age 9, I just, picked an interest. The natural, I would just run around the house writing and, composing songs with all the scriptures on the wall. My dad used to have, I am the head and not the tail, above and not beneath.
Right.
My God shall supply all my needs. He had all scriptures, and I'll just sit down and just say, I am the head and not the tail. I am above and not. So it just started like that, when we had, I had no toys. Of course, kids of nowadays have so much occupying them. We were just a normal, average family. And I guess, I started picking an interest in music when one of my brothers became a pastor, and he started a church. He's now a bishop, Bishop Mac Jones. And he had this little small Casio keyboard, that he would bring to the house because he brought the equipment to the house. And I just plug it, and I started, playing around with it. And naturally, I just picked it up. I started playing on a Friday. By Sunday morning, I had displaced the old organ player who was playing. I just took over his job. And since then, I've never stopped playing. And obviously, God increased me until, I think 4 or 5 years later, I met one of the biggest gospel artists at the time, Dr. Panam Paul. He took me in, and I started playing for him, and we traveled the whole of Africa just ministering. And that from there has just been one level of glory to another.
From what age?
From 9.
From 9?
I started playing at 9.
When did you start traveling? You said you met this big
at
man.
like 15, I was traveling everywhere.
What?
I was still in school, travel. I had very interesting. So I still graduated. Yes, I did. But, I was even in school, my high school, we didn't have any music, structure in the school. They've never done anything like that before. But because of how, I was kind of famous with the kids club, I did TV shows playing the piano. My principal at the time decided to create a music, section for the school. And I was made music prefect. And I don't know, and everybody knew me in school. They call me pastor. They call me the piano boy. It's always been my thing, and that's how I graduated. And playing with Dr. Panam all over the world, and God started gradually taking me to another level. Production. I was introduced to music, digital production. I was probably one of the youngest to ever have a digital recording studio in Abuja, Nigeria. And right after that, I started a group called CD Boys. It was we had songs on the TV, we had music videos. By the time I was 20, I left the country, and 18 actually. I left the country to move to London to study sound engineering and music production.
Whoa.
And I was in London for about 8 years and finally moved to the US.
So you actually knew that was your area of call?
Yes. At about 14, I knew that this was what I was going to do for the rest of my life. It was so clear to me. It was
Really?
110%.
And your dad
clear.
was okay?
Well, okay, that's the story.
Okay.
With my dad, he always wanted me to be a pilot. And he's like, the last one, you were going to be a pilot. And I didn't know anything about flying. I was not interested. And he was still forceful about it. Like, listen, you're going to go to school and you're going to become a pilot. I'm like, I don't know. I'm a musician. I want music. And he didn't force me, but he was like, this is what I want you to do. When I started playing for Dr. Panam, who at the time is like the biggest, worship leader in the whole of Africa, the first concert we went for, he gave me 15,000 naira. At the time, this was in 96. I don't know how much it came up to then. But at that time, about $100 or maybe $200, it was a whole lot of money. Some people would not earn that in a whole month. So I took this money and went to my dad, And first of all, it was like two things. He's like, okay, they said you travel. Where did you go to? And growing up, my dad used to play the tapes of Dr. Panam. I grew up on his music, and
Wow.
he was my dad's favorite gospel singer. So when I came back and I told him, okay, I went on a trip with Panam Percy Paul. He's like, who?
Yeah.
I like Panam. He's like, the Panam Percy Paul? I said, yes. It's like, oh my God. And while he was about to recover from that, I gave him the money, like stacks of 20 Naira mint notes. He's like, where did you get this from?
He said, did I say pilot? I meant singing.
You already know. So that was history. When he got it and said, kneel down, my son. I release you to be a singer and whatever. Then he remembered prophecy. I remember when you were, your mom carried in your womb, a word came that you are the Samuel of this house. So I give you back to God. So my dad, for real, he released me and says, he said, I release you back to God.
Whatever. You see, when a father is satisfied,
yes,
they start prophesying.
They start prophesying, exactly.
So now he started to prophesy. In fact, he remembered.
He remembered prophecy. Hallelujah.
So he released you.
He released me, and that was the end of being a pilot. And he was proud of me until he passed. He passed a few years later, but he was always proud of what I did.
So by the time he passed, did he see the big you?
He did.
He did?
He did.
Which year did he pass?
He passed in 2005, 2005. And his dream was to see the Big Ben in London. I don't know if you know the Big Ben. And I was able to facilitate him to come to London. I hosted him, I had a house, a little house, but he was so proud, and I gave him a tour of London, and he said, I always knew you were going to succeed. I always knew you had it in you, and I had the full support of my dad.
And of course now, being the last born, the rest had already done whatever it is that they were called to do. So it's like he was waiting on you, the last born, to get your line and move.
And he was really proud of what I was doing.
Right.
And it makes a difference when your family supports you. I had a very good support system. But, still I had to prove that this was what I was called to do. I wasn't just saying it and sitting down at home. When he heard that I was playing for, at the time, the biggest gospel, he's like, for him to have called you, that means you're good at what you do. Right. I release you. So, and it's been history since then.
Oh my God.
Yes.
So then now here you are, you've relocated, you're in London, and all you knew before was, of course, Nigeria.
Yes.
So now how was that? The culture difference? Did they like your music? Did you have to change your tune?
Actually, before I went to London, I moved to Gambia, the Gambia. I don't know if you've heard of that tiny little country in West Africa.
Yeah.
I went there for missions, as young as I was. I was very successful in Abuja. I had the studio, traveling with Dr. Panam. I was making money. I was, I was doing good. And then God was like, it's time to move. I'm taking you through Gambia to go serve for 2 years. The country was underdeveloped, not as good as Nigeria, of course, and it was I had to step down, but God was teaching me humility, just let me see if you're going to obey. To a small church, I was music director in the church, had no experience of doing such a thing like that in a different country. The country was 80% Muslim, but by God's grace we were able to do something that had never been done in the country. We recorded the first indigenous gospel album in the history of that country, and the president's wife was the one to launch it. She was the one to do the CD release. So it was history being made, and I set up a studio, and it was a wilderness experience for me because I just went from this level of success, and I stepped down and I thought I made a mistake, and God was like, no, I'm teaching you something. You have to go through this process. And right then, the destiny helpers that I needed in a little country that nobody knew. My brothers didn't know, like, what's the Gambia? We never heard of it.
Yeah.
Where is it on the map? They didn't even know where it was. But in that place, I met destiny helpers that, orchestrated my way to London. Somebody who was a sound engineer, a reputable sound engineer, came and heard me in the studio. I had done all these things, and he said, where did you study? I'm like, I just read magazines and put all this together. It's like, I need you to go and study sound engineering, and I'll pay for it.
What?
Yes, a white guy, white English man, didn't know me from anywhere. And
Met
that was
you
just
in a small
in a
country
small
like
country.
this.
He came to set up the sound for the church, and I was supposed to assist him. So in your place of service,
Preach.
God is setting you up. That's why I tell people,
today.
you better serve, because you don't know what God is setting you up for. I was serving. I had no plans of going anywhere. I had no plans of, furthering my education. I was just concentrating on serving at the moment. And when he came, he's like, he spoke to everybody and said, I will sponsor you and I'll pay your way and I'll take you to school. Go study.
Favor is not fair, eh?
It's not fair.
Favor is not
I'm
fair.
telling you.
Because there were other people working with you.
A lot of people.
But it
working
was
with me.
your time.
It was my time.
Oh my
Yes.
goodness. So there he is now. Were you too excited? Did you
I
call
was
your people?
extremely excited because
Yeah.
that was my dream.
Yeah.
I didn't even know how to start. I was
Yeah.
reading magazines, sound magazines.
So you didn't tell
and
him,
I
wait,
set
I
up-
pray.
Oh, no. I said, I am on board. Let's do it. Let's do this.
Yeah.
So from there, I studied. Of course, going back to the question you asked about, it was different. It was really different. But, at the time, I had already imagined myself in these places. That's why when you are in your serving, it doesn't mean you forget where God is taking you to.
Right.
When Joseph was even before he went through the pit and Potiphar's house and prison, he already saw his future.
He knew where he
was going.
He knew he
saw
saw
it.
these people bowing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I kind of saw where God was taking me. I just didn't know how it was going to happen. So when I found myself in London, I already knew, written down everything that I was going to be doing. And, once I started doing it, it was history.
So
Everything.
London, you're saying you went on the wings of service.
Yes.
For real, when you serve God, he services your
He
waters.
does. He takes care of you. There is a blessing attached to every service.
Right.
As soon as you serve, you activate that blessing, and it's instantly yours.
Right now you're preaching to somebody who's watching us by television.
Yes. If you're somewhere now and you're waiting for your time to come, while you're waiting, serve. Look for something to do. God says, I will bless the works of your hands. God cannot bless lazy people. Find something to do. Find a local church. Serve. Do something. And in your serving, maybe your purpose will be released or revealed to you. Because I was just playing keyboard. I played for years without even knowing what it was to be paid. I just wanted to do it because I was fulfilled. And the more I did it, people look at me now and say, how do you know all the things you do? I'm like, I served for years. I just learned it in the place of service.
Oh, my.
There's no university that teaches you some of the things that we do.
Wow.
Only service can teach you that.
Wow.
Amen.
Oh my God, somebody has just been delivered. So when you're serving, you serve with all your heart.
All your heart. All
yeah.
your heart.
Yeah.
All your
and
heart.
you give everything that you have in
Everything
that
you have,
place.
yes. Because there's going to come a time where, and then the thing with service is you may not reap where you serve. It's somewhere else. The church that I served for over 10 years, they never paid me a dime. It was my brother's church, of course. So how your brother's not going to pay you?
Yeah.
I was required to be in church with my school uniform. Like I'll be from school straight to church, do choir practice, and I'll play with my uniform. And I'll play from, let's say, 5 till 10. Now, my ride home was my brother, who was the pastor of the church. So when service was done, I'll wait for him to counsel people.
The
you know how it
last
is.
person.
The last person will finish at 12:30 midnight. By the way, I have to be up for school at 6, and then we lived an hour away. So we drive 12 to 1 a.m. Then my school uniform was green, white, and green. So I had to wash it. And you know what this is? I had to do this.
To dry it.
For 30 minutes to dry it. So I was on 2-3 hours of sleep for 5-6 years of my life.
What?
And I didn't complain. I just thought this was what I was called to do, and I did it without complaint. But see all the places where God set me up.
He was
it was not in the
watching
place.
you. He was actually the driver
Yes.
behind
he was.
all that.
He was.
He's the one that was leading every direction. He
Yes,
says the
yes.
steps
Of the righteous are ordered.
are ordered of God.
Hallelujah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So now he sent you to London. You went and again you became diligent. Did you find a church there?
Well, interesting thing is when I got to London, the first person I asked him, like, okay, I need a church because this is my life. I need to be somewhere serving. And the guy who they introduced me to was the drummer of the church. And then when he saw me for the first time, he screamed. Now, while I was in Nigeria, I had my group I told you about. We did this thing called music drama. We had like soundtracks and we will act out the devil versus, Jesus battling. Something we did as teenagers was fun.
Yeah.
Now, while they were in London, the pastor who was in that church was transferred to London, and then he gave the youth ministry that tape for them to practice some of the plays that we had done. So as soon as he saw me, he recognized me from, he's like, you are CD Boys. You did that. I'm like, okay, small world. I didn't expect this. And then, I was introduced that way. The pastor knew me. You know, so as soon as I got to the church, it was express. I was made the music director in 2 weeks.
Get to your place.
2 weeks. I was made music director straight up. He was like, do you know who this guy is? So I didn't have to go from the bottom. I remember before the pastor met me, I had to audition with the then choir leaders. And they were like, okay, so tell us about yourself.
Who are you?
Who are you?
What do
Can
you
you
have?
sing? Can you play? How many
What
keys
have
can you
brought?
play on?
What do you mean?
While they were talking, the pastor walks in. Dee Jones! Dee Jones! And he's like, this is your boss. It was so, and it was funny. God just did everything, you know, amazing times, you know, in London. So from there, I discovered another part of me, which was my singing. I mean, I sang with my group, but it was not serious. But when I got to that church, there was a need. There was a need. Now, all the years of service, I had worked with this great psalmist and worship leaders. I had watched and I had learned. You know, like I was going to be a worship leader, but I didn't think about it. But when the time came, I realized I had been mentored. But all these years that I've worked with, you know, Dr. Panam and all these awesome worship leaders, I took on that spirit. Mentorship is not direct. You know, some of the ladies that they're following you, just watching you is mentoring.
Hey.
You don't have to say, hey, this is how I do this.
Hey.
When something happens, you do this. No, they watch you and they can learn so much in a lifetime. They catch it. The smart ones do. And you're mentoring them without even doing anything. You're just living and you're mentoring them.
And you know, it's said that some things are caught, not taught.
Not taught. That's right on.
Whoa.
You know, so I realized at the time that I had been mentored by all these worship leaders, and I just had it inside of me. And I began to lead worship, and that got opened another aspect of my ministry. That's when in London where I started really leading worship, and I discovered, okay, I'm a worship leader, you know, song leader in church.
Okay, one thing I know,
Yes.
Dee Jones, is that the minute you get somewhere and you find people that have been there, but then God comes and just causes you to bypass every protocol and order and go up there, there's always a fight.
Yes.
Like they're always looking at you like, who do you think you are? It's like Peter saying, I'm getting off this
Yes.
boat.
Oh, yes.
And they're thinking, please get back here, you know?
You belong here. Stay here.
Stay here, you belong here. How did that work for you?
Well, it was interesting because this is one of my principles. The Bible says, when a man's way, you know, pleases God, he makes his enemies be at peace with him. I don't believe in enemies. I don't think I have any enemies. I believe when you walk with God, he makes everything straight. Now, those people, I found favor in their sight. Actually, one of them is still my best friend, Timothy. He's like we're buddies. We did everything together, and he was there, and he had, you know, my back. Even when some other people were like, who is this? I'm talking about doctors and lawyers and, you know, people who were like 3 times older than me. Listen to this small boy say, sing louder. Not now, sit down. You know, but you know, he was there to help me, you know, make it easier to say, okay, this guy, yeah, he might be a young boy, but, you know, he's been gifted. And the thing is, when they listened, you know, when God has favored you, you become a person of results. You know, I took a choir that, you know, was awesome. They were good. But in 2 weeks, like when we were done with rehearsals and they ministered, everybody was like, oh my God,
wow.
What has happened to this choir? So when people see results, nobody can fight results. Nobody can question results. The reason why people question authorities is because maybe they're beginning to know as much as you know. And, you know, a leader once said, he said, once people know as much as you know, you're no longer a leader.
You're no longer relevant.
You have to be 10, 20, 100 steps ahead of them, people who you're leading, so you can stay relevant. So once they see results, that's it. You know, everybody was like, okay, I guess this is the young boy that we're going to listen to. Yeah. And we did awesome things with the church. It was amazing.
Wow.
I had a great time.
So then you left there. Why did you leave there and relocate again to the States?
It was time for me to leave.
It was time.
Because I had got to London knowing that I was always going to live in the U.S. I had family there, and I had just knowing. You know how you know that this is where you're in my knowing, in my spirit. I knew that I was going to live in the U.S. So I was just done with school, and I decided to relocate.
So while in London, you were still in school while you did
all
the service?
I was in school, and I was worship leader in church.
Right.
I had a studio at home. I was producing. because I didn't stop my production because I was in school learning that. So I had to have a studio at home, and I was producing other people. And that was when I did my first album, which is not on the market. I'm trying to redo it. I took it off of iTunes because the quality of, at that time, when I listened to it, I'm like, oh my God, take this down.
I know.
But it's good sometimes so you know how far God is taking you.
Yeah.
So I recorded my first album, and it was fantastic. It was the first time anybody in that church had recorded an album.
Is that Big God?
No, not Big
Okay.
God. This is
Okay.
like 2 albums before Big God.
Okay.
The first time somebody had recorded an album, first time they did an album launch, and first time they saw about maybe 100 white Caucasian people. They
Come
came
to the launch.
Yes, they came to the launch.
Oh my God.
Yes.
That's
And I didn't know how that happened.
Yeah.
They just heard this young boy is doing an album launch, and they came out. It was the first time they saw a mixed audience. The church had never seen anything like that before, and it was successful.
The most amazing thing is that a lot of times when you do something successful,
Yeah.
you want to build around it.
Yes.
You are already succeeding in London. A lot of people will just get stuck and say, this is it for me.
Oh, yes.
But here you are, you already had a vision that you were going to the States.
Yes.
So you broke everything and just decided
And
to
decided
pack up.
to leave because I had done it before. I did it when I left Nigeria, went to
Right.
Gambia.
Yeah.
When things started to pick up in Gambia, God just set this guy in my way, and I was in London. And I knew, God spoke to me like, I'm taking you to America. And here's the thing God said, He said, America is the center of the world. And if you want to reach the world, that's where you need to be. And I'm like, okay, God, okay.
So
and
you went.
and that's it. And,
What state and what did you go and get a church there?
Yes, I actually moved around a lot. When I went to the States, I went to Maryland. From Maryland, I went to California. From California, I went to Atlanta. From Atlanta, now I'm in Houston. Yes, and I lived there for at least 2 years minimum in each city, in each state. Yes.
In Houston.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
I left Maryland, to Virginia, D.C. area, then moved to L.A. I was in L.A. for about 2 years. I was working in the studio, and then I moved to Atlanta, working with a church, and that's where I got married, in Atlanta.
We're gonna get to
We're
that.
gonna
You
get
tell us
there.
how
So
you met.
I settled down in Atlanta, and then we moved as a family to Houston, and I'm still in Houston.
Okay.
I think it's gonna be Houston for a long, long time.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yes.
So that you feel that's
We've
home.
bought a house and everything. It's Houston now.
Okay.
Until God says otherwise.
Okay, you started moving from state to state.
Yes. From there, I reconnected with some English producer that I used to work with in London. He moved to LA, and he called me and said, "Listen, I've set up this $1 million studio. I want you to come and be the resident producer." And I was like, well, he offered me a job with everything. Like, it came with all the perks. And I told my brother, it's been wonderful.
It's been real. It's been real.
It's been wonderful
Yeah.
serving here, but it's time for my next assignment because I wanted to get some experience professionally in the music industry, just so I know what it's about, because I had studied that, and they encouraged us to go in the music industry, try and make a name for yourself, And I went to LA, and I realized that I'm not an industry person. God was like, okay, I just wanted you to experience this. You are a ministry person.
Right.
So in music ministry, we have the music ministry and the music industry. You have to be very careful. There's a thin line between them. Some people think they're doing music ministry, but they're doing the music industry. Industry
What's
is
the
business.
difference?
The industry is the business. You're thinking about hit records, shooting nice videos, top in the charts. I want to win some awards. I want to be the face of this. You're thinking superstar. Music ministry is about helping people, impacting lives, making music that will change people, making music that will lift Jesus up. He said, if I be lifted up, I will draw men. Now, if you're lifting yourself up in your music, we know who you're lifting up. It's not Jesus. You lift up Jesus, then he will do the drawing. Don't bother yourself doing the drawing. So I learned that while I was in LA, that I don't want to be in music. I don't want to be in the music industry because the music industry was horrible. I tell you things, it was nasty. Gospel music industry, the things going on in the music industry, I was, privileged to hear about and see. I said, God, this is not the place for me. I'll give up the fame. I'll give up the Grammy nominations. I'll give up working with the big names. I want to go back to ministry. And that's why I moved to Atlanta. I had an opportunity. My sister just moved to Atlanta. She called me. She said, listen, let's do ministry. And I'm like, this is it. I quit my job as a music producer for a huge studio. I started to meet big names. I was talking, about recording some serious projects that would have announced me to the industry. And I'm glad I didn't do that because I would have been gone. Once you get in the industry, you're gone. You start thinking money, you start thinking connection, and it's no longer about God, it's about success, it's about succeeding. And you miss out on what God has called you to do to change lives. And I said, God, I'm not a music industry person. I am music ministry. It doesn't come with the fame. It doesn't come with the awards. It doesn't come with the glamour. But it comes with peace. It comes with fulfillment. It comes with the hand of God on your life, knowing that this is what I want you to do. And that's how I walked away from LA, what could have been maybe a successful production career, but I said, that's not for me.
I love you even
Yes.
more. Oh my God! Because that's my take also. I really, for me, it's ministry.
It is
and
ministry.
I just want somebody's life to be changed.
Yes.
I hear people saying, I don't want. If you sing my song, you pay me. If you sing it in church, really?
You wrote those songs for people to sing all over the world. It's my prayer that I write a song that can be sung all over the world, translated. I mean, I get emails from Congo, from Tanzania, from Brazil. Even from, where's that other country? Is it Saudi Arabia or North Korea?
Yes.
People asking me for the lyrics to Big God, the lyrics to Glory, so they can translate it to their language. I mean, when I see emails like that, immediately I just jump and respond because what else could I ask for?
Right.
When people hear your song and they think, I want to worship God with this song. I mean, that's it. There's nothing else.
Yeah.
Nothing bigger than that.
Wow.
So it's a privilege.
So now here you are. You're still growing. You're still growing. Then you hit Big God. Tell us how you came to Big God.
Big God is really interesting. The story behind it. I had moved to Houston with my family. I had a little girl. My wife was expecting. My style is more contemporary, because I don't believe I should be in a box. So I don't make only African music. I make music that appeals to people all over the world. I do training in Sweden, Yes, we go all over the world training singers, and, you cannot force the African music on them. You have to be able to be versatile. And, so on that album, I had listened to all the songs I selected, and there was not one single African song or African beat song. I'm like, okay. And then the church I was in Atlanta was predominantly African Americans, and they loved the African music, but when you took it too traditional, you lose them. So God gave me this idea that do a song that can capture the African root, at the same time cut across anybody who listens to it, whether black, whether white, whether American, whether African, do something like that. And I was waiting for that song. I said, God, bless me with this song. Give me this one song. So that morning, I don't know what I was doing. I think I was in the shower. Sometimes I get a lot of songs in the shower. Where, as songwriters, in the shower when you're driving, during worship in church, somebody's playing something. Or, just randomly, you get a song. Make sure you capture that song. Big God is one of those songs. The one I did with Chevelle Franklin, I love that song. I got it on a golf course. The golf course, awesome. It just came, and you recorded it immediately. Yeah. Because I was in the shower and I got the song, I jumped out of the shower, I looked for my phone, because once you miss it, you never get it. You better record it, So I recorded it, and I had my little girl, Zion, while I was trying to program the song in the studio. And then I started singing, I have a very big God, yeah, yeah, yeah. I sang it like 4 times. The next time I sang, I have a very big God, and she said, yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh. And at that very moment, I knew that song was going to be big. I knew it. It's like the Spirit told me, you see that there, when a child can connect to your song, it means that it's pure and it's godly and it's just going to be successful. Wow. And I knew it right then that was going to be a big song, and everything else is history. I recorded it and got musicians from all over, and we did the song, and that was the only African song on that album, and it's just incredible.
Wow.
It's been incredible.
It is so big. It's
Yes.
so beautiful.
Yes.
For sure, when you sing it, you can
Yes.
literally feel the presence of
Yes.
God. And then
Yes.
the words are so impactful.
Yes.
It's just all about God.
Yes.
And I think that's what makes it even more beautiful.
Oh yes.
The
oh, yes.
bigness of God.
Yes.
You know, you
it's,
see
it's so big. You
Yeah,
know,
his
and one of my music
awesomeness.
mentors used to say, what's the distance between, you know, the sun and earth? It's about some millions of miles. And he's like, imagine the Bible says the earth is his footstool and heaven is his throne. And God is sitting in heaven. This is heaven. And he's sitting down here. And the earth is all the way there. That's how big he is. Now he asked the question, where is the second half of God?
Yeah, I know.
If heaven is where he's sitting,
Yeah.
that means his head is somewhere that nobody, you know. So it's like God is, if you can think about this, God is so big. It's so big. And the devil is so tricky because he makes you think your problem is bigger than God.
Yeah.
You know, all people think about is their problems, their bills, their rent, you know, and you don't think about how big this God is. If
He's
he says,
able to take out
yes,
care of it
that's it. He say if his eyes, you know, can be on the sparrows, then how much more? He's watching over you. He got you. So
got
when
your
God
back.
says, fear not, don't fear. God has got your back.
He got your back.
So that inspired me to write, you know, you can never write a song that describes how big God is. That's just an attempt, you know, to describe the God that we serve. He's big, he's mighty, and he's strong. And we you know, we just praise him in the dance.
So when it broke through, you were not surprised. You knew that you knew.
I wasn't surprised that I knew it was just going to
pleasant.
work. Yeah, because here's the thing: as a music minister, a songwriter, never release a song that doesn't bless you first. If it doesn't bless you,
It won't bless.
it won't bless somebody else.
Right.
If it doesn't minister to you, it won't minister to somebody else. Every song that I sing, even while I lead worship, the song has to first minister to me. Like I have to connect with the song. The lyrics has to just jump on me, and I just have my quiet time of worship. So when I get to do the song, it's from that place of intimacy, it's from that place of experience. I've enjoyed the song with God, and it's just, you know, an outpour of what I've done in my private, you know, time of worship.
Right.
It just reflects.
Right.
So, you know, the song actually blessed me. I know some people don't like listening to themselves. I was there before, but now when I do it well and when it's done excellently, I can actually sit back and appreciate what I have done. Like, wow, this sounds good. And it blesses me. I cannot dance to my own.
Yeah.
It's weird, right? I can dance
good.
to my, I enjoy it, and I know that if I can enjoy it, I'm the one who did the music.
Yeah.
That it means that anybody who
people will
listens,
enjoy it.
they will be blessed.
So you produced everything.
I produce myself, every
Right.
single thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so here you are now, boom, Big God has really hit and
Yes.
everything. Then you started doing production for many other gospel singers.
Yes.
And Sinach herself.
Yes. Yes.
What?
Yes, that's an incredible story, because when, you know, I've always been known to produce for a long time. Everybody knew that. I've worked with like so many great artists. And I got a call from one of Sinach's friends, and she's like, okay, you know Sinach? I'm like, yeah, I know who she is. You know, and she's like, she's looking for a new producer because she wants an international sound. You know, she's done with the African sound. She wants to get something that's, you know, be global. And I thought of you because I had produced this lady, and she heard her song, and she liked it. Sinach liked that. Who produced the song? It's like Dee Jones. Like, wow. So she was talking to a lot of other producers at the time, and she you know, reached out to me, and they connected us. And the moment we met, I flew to Nigeria to record. You know, we're done in McClurkin, another choir in you know, another side of Nigeria, and we met in Lagos briefly to just talk. She wanted to talk to me about the production. She told me her dreams, ideas, and I told her what I thought about her music and what, you know, where we needed to take the music to. And, you know, we talked, and she was a very sweet person, humble, you know, didn't come with bodyguards or drivers. She drove herself. She came. We had lunch. It was really, really nice. I saw, you know, another side. Like, you know, most gospel artists are very proud. You cannot even get to talk to them without knowing who.
You talk to
do
them,
you know who
PA,
I am? Yes,
and
talk
you
to my.
fill up the pink form
Exactly,
before the blue,
green.
and then you get to the red, and then we'll see.
And then
if
we'll
there's a
see.
possibility.
You know, she was not anything like that. So we talked, and she was like, yeah, I want to work with you. I'm talking to other producers, so I'll get back to you. You know, it was not 3 days after she called me and said, you know, I connect, something connected me with you. When I talk to you, I feel there's a connection. I feel you're the guy who will take my music to another level. And she trusted me with this amazing songs, like, that God blesses her with. And we did the live recording, and the rest is history. It was very incredible.
And you're even about to record for her again.
Yes, we're doing
in
the next.
South Africa.
We're doing the next album. It's going to be fantastic.
That's so amazing.
Yes.
Oh my God. How does it feel now that, God has taken you up there, and the whole world now literally is looking up to you like a powerful producer.
Yeah.
How does that make you feel? Are you still humble?
I try to be. I try to be, but here's the thing, though.
Yeah.
The thing that I know for sure is I'm not even halfway where God wants me to be yet. So it's not. I'm not in a place where I want to start, feeling yes, I've arrived. I know that I've not even done half of what God has called me to do, and where God is taking me is so big and so, fantastic that I know that, being prideful will just mess it all up. So I'm just still humble.
And pride comes before fall.
Yeah, it comes before a fall. So I'm still just learning to appreciate, take every moment, and just stand back and just bless God for this place I'm at, and thank Him for where He's taken me. And I believe strongly that God has not even started with me yet.
Amen.
Amen.
Wow. Tell me now,
Yes.
you go around the world
Yes.
raising up worshippers and talking to worshippers.
Yes.
How is that? How did you start?
Yes, we travel, me and Minister Stacy, she's an incredible worshiper. We came up on Uche Agu, your son.
Oh, my son. I totally
My brother.
love him. Yeah.
We just sat down talking, and we were talking about things that we wanted to change in music ministry, things that we didn't like, what other music ministers were doing. And right there I said, I just got this thing in my spirit, like, why don't you change it? Many times we sit down and complain about things that are not going right. Mike Murdoch says that's a clue to what God has called you to address. So if you're always sitting down and you see the camera man is shaky, and every time it bothers you, like, why is this guy shaky?
Yeah.
Why is he not steady? Why, maybe you're supposed to be on that camera.
Right.
So right there in the meeting, I said, listen, we can sit here and criticize people doing ministry wrong, or we can just go around the world and teach people how to do it right.
How to do it right.
And right there, Minister Stacy just cut it up and said, listen, we're doing this. Uche, we're doing this. Of course, Uche got too busy. He got too big for us.
And he needs to get married.
He got too big for us. But, we talked about it, and I'm glad that she persevered, because, we're so busy. It's incredible. We're so busy. I'm working, like right now, my album had to wait 2 years just because of how busy I was. My new album is coming out in July. It had to wait, push it back 2 years because I was so busy trying to finish other production and do so much. But, when we talked about it, we decided that this is what we need to do to give back, travel the world, meet with worship leaders, because they've got this thing all messed up. Some of them don't even, nobody mentored them. They just say, oh, you have a good voice, take lead worship.
Yes.
No, you got to be trained. Because you have a good voice doesn't mean you're a worship leader. There are singers, and then there are worship leaders.
Right.
So people just think, oh, she can sing, she can lead worship. No, she has to be trained. Is she called to lead worship? You cannot give people what you don't have. You cannot lead people where you haven't been. How can you lead worship when you don't know how to spend time in God's presence? Your worship is going to be dry. Right. So this thing some worship leaders do not know, and we've just taken upon ourselves to travel the world wherever the opportunity is. Whatever opportunity we get, we will share from our experience and from what God has taught us, from what our mentors have taught us, how to do music ministry well. Relationship between pastor and worship leader. Relationship between musicians and worship leader. The lifestyle that's required, ethics, humility and skills. Some of them lack skills. Some people have talent, but they have not developed it. Because when you develop a talent, you become skillful. And then when you become skillful and the hand of God is on you, you're unstoppable. So some people are just operating on the realm of talent, and talent is not enough. You have to develop it. And we can offer training and materials where we can hook you up with people. We connect musicians with musicians. We're in the age of technology. They can send materials to each other. Right. We help people to record their albums and tell them how to get themselves out there. You know, so it's a passion that we have to just pour into people.
Right.
It's just free of charge, you know.
Right.
And if we, sometimes some people take for granted what they don't pay for. So sometimes
I
like
know.
pay for it so you can value
So
it.
you can value
We
it.
don't need
I
your
know,
money.
But by the way,
Yeah.
you know that's what happens, eh?
Yes.
If you don't pay for something,
You
that's
don't
what I've
value it.
noticed.
You don't value
In,
it.
we've
Yes.
had church for 17 years,
Yes.
and we've seen the difference
Mhm.
between when somebody puts something down,
Down,
they
yes.
value,
They value
that
it.
thing.
They value
but
it.
when
That's
it's just
true.
free, they just
That's
trash
true.
it, even
That's
come
true.
late, even
That's
they
true.
don't care.
Very
but when
true.
they put something, they
Mhm.
always value it. So it's very,
Yes.
very
Yes.
important, you know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So tell me,
Yes.
now, what kind of legacy would you like to leave?
Oh,
What would
wow.
you how would you like people to remember you at the
Wow.
end of it all?
Wow, that's a serious question. I want people to remember me as somebody who lived his life to full capacity, somebody who was sold out to God, somebody who was selfless, somebody who helped everyone he could help, somebody who changed lives, and somebody who spent time with God, who was a reflection of God and reflection of who Christ is. I want people to remember me as somebody who just gave everything. God bless him again, because he's also one of my mentors, Dr. Miles Monroe. He said, I want to die empty. I don't want to die old. I want to die empty. Dying empty is, I have done everything that my heart can imagine, my mind can imagine. Everything, single potential that's inside of me, I have lived it. Now, some of us have 20 things in our, God has gifted us with some 100, some 1, some 2. When you find out how many of these things you have in you, some of us have mentorship in us, some of us have, we're destiny helpers, some of us have songs that will be sung all over the world, I'm very young, so I have a lot of more songs to go.
Right.
So I want to be remembered as somebody who gave everything. And I want to, be remembered by the people who, I changed their lives, because there's one thing I believe in. Anybody who comes in contact with me, you will never regret it.
Amen.
Nobody regrets ever meeting me.
They must be changed.
They must be changed,
Wow.
They must be blessed, or they must be happy, or something positive. Because every relationship we have, it's either a positive or a negative. If you have people in your life that are not adding to your life, trust me, they are taken from you.
They say that relationship is like a lift.
It's like a lift.
It'll
It's
take
either
you
up or down.
But
So
move, it must move.
it must move. So
Yeah.
watch the people in your life. Are they pouring into you? Are they pushing you to your full potential, or they're leeches just taken from you? Every time you talk to them, you're depressed. Some phone calls you have, you're like, oh God, why did I talk to this person? They leave you heavy and depressed,
Yeah.
or people who are in your life to help you reach your potential and grow and just push you. So I want to be remembered for all these wonderful things. Above all, I just, at the end of the day, I want to be standing and God will say, welcome my faithful son. Come and rest and take your crowns. And that's the whole point of it all, the bottom line. At the end of the day, that God will receive us and acknowledge everything that we've done in his name and will not be castaways.
The last thing
Yes.
that I'm going to ask you to do is just focus on that camera and
Yeah.
talk to a young person that's aspiring to become.
Yes.
They've seen Dee Jones and many other people that have really, gotten a name and they're up
Yes,
there.
yes.
And they desire, but they are so discouraged or they're
Yes.
doing it the wrong way. And they're not accountable.
Yes,
They don't
they're
have
not.
any mentors. A lot of musicians and singers
Yeah.
don't have any mentors. They're just there. What
Yes.
would you advise?
Well, if you're watching this right now and you're a young person, you don't have to be necessarily in music or ministry, whatever you find yourself doing, you have to develop yourself. While you're waiting for that big moment where you shine or your time to come, because every one of us, you have your time. Your time is definitely going to come. Your opportunity is going to come, but how prepared are you when this opportunity comes? In your moment of waiting, I want you to develop yourself, develop character, develop humility, serve. Go somewhere and serve. Jesus said, if you want to be great, first you have to be a servant. Find a mentor, somebody who has been where you're trying to be, They can easily pour into you. They can easily help you so you don't make the mistakes that they made, so you don't fall where they fell. They can help you so you can have a better career or better ministry, ahead of you. If you're that person, find a mentor. Spend time with God, because he's the one who created you. He knows why he created you, and he's the only one who knows why you're here. Find your purpose, because there's something worse than death. It's somebody who is alive and doesn't know why he's alive. You have no purpose. It's a tragedy. So find why you're alive. Find a mentor. Work hard. Make sure you stay with God, because without God, you can't go far. Stay with God. Find a mentor and be accountable. Serve. Go somewhere and serve. While you're serving, trust me, you're going to develop character. Nobody knew David when he was in the wilderness, fighting off sheep and playing his harp and fighting off lions and, taking care of sheep, fighting the bear. Nobody knew who David was. But one fateful day, his time came when he got the opportunity to fight Goliath, and the rest was history. David became announced to the world. He was anointed king. So your time is coming. While you're waiting, what are you doing? Work on yourself. And don't give up. Don't be discouraged because you see people who have gone ahead of you. It's just their time. Your time is going to come. Stay with God and develop yourself, and you're going to have a blessed life. I guarantee you.
Amen.
Amen.
And there you are. This is Woman Without Limits.
Yes.
May the good Lord bless you.
Amen.
You have yourself an amazing, amazing week.
Yes.
Woman, 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 without limits. Na 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 na. Woman without